I think there's two main things that I like to be aware of. One is that I have to distract my brain. And that's okay, because I fought it for a while. I was like, what do you mean I have to distract myself from myself? Like, that to me sounded like so sad, right? Like, I can't even handle my own thoughts. But then I was like, no, it's okay. You are doing what you can. So distracting myself completely, that's what I need to do. I feel like I'm like a little kid, and I just like, oh, refocus. And so anything, again, that's why I like active meditation, which, again, it just essentially anything that requires a big part of your brain power. So you can't give any room to whatever is bothering you.
Hey everyone, Reyna Torres here, and I'm super excited that we have arrived at season 2 of the Women Creating Magic podcast. I run my own creative studio, and I wanted to create a platform for amazing women to have real conversations about our experience in the entertainment industry, and just talk about that moment that we decided to take control of our lives as women. A safe and open space to sit down comfortably with a cup of tea or a glass of wine to relax and have an open conversation about their experiences as women in the entertainment industry. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, and leave a review, because all of that will really help us out and keep us going.
Today, I spoke with Alexandra Bernal, a classical trained actress from Bogotá, Colombia. Alexandra is an animal activist and a yoga instructor who writes and produces her own work. Very proud and honored to call her my friend. Here's Alexandra Bernal.
Like that. What made you want to start what you're doing now? Like, what was the day that you kind of just said, I want to become an actress?
I mean, I'm one of those that has known their whole life that they wanted to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I was very lucky that I went to a very artsy school. And they would put on shows and plays and things like that. And everybody in the school was required to participate in some way. Oh. And then you, of course, had some audition. Yeah, like, you can't opt out. You could have like a small part, but obviously if you wanted, you could audition for the big ones and the more juicy stuff. And I was always the first one in everything to audition or try to get the big stuff. So I knew I liked it. I very much enjoyed it, and I think at some point, maybe I was like 12 or 13, I told my mom that I wanted, I don't know, I guess more of that, and she found like an acting school for teenagers, and that's kind of how it more seriously started.
So in teenagers, when you really got into it?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was beautiful. I also think it was just like the right place. And my mom just happened to find this like amazing small acting school, and it was run by like a bunch of like 20-something-year-old actors, but they were like really talented and had, you know, good roles amongst them. Like they used to work on TV a lot and do a lot of theater, and so it felt like a very grown-up experience.
Okay.
Because even though I was one of the youngest, like 13, most of them were probably, you know, maybe 16, 17, and it was, I think, up to 19 or 20 years old, but we were all grouped together. So it was really cool because it felt very professional from the get-go. Like, they did not treat you as a child. They're like, this is a professional acting school for professional actors, so this is how we're treating it.
Which should be, because if you're going into it, you have to...
I love that about it.
Because I've heard other kids, like, I hate to say this, but from that one show on Netflix, Stranger Things. So some of the actors there went on to do it. Yeah. And they said that these kids were cursing like crazy.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
They're like, wow, like it was interesting how they were doing. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And I think it's because of that, like, well, however they started, they just felt like they had that free way of like, oh, I can go ahead and speak the way I want to. I'm like, that's not how adults do it.
Right.
But I like how you had like a role model of like, hey, this is professional, so you better like grow up a little.
It was pretty cool. I think it changed me, not just as an actor, but as a person. I think it really did help me grow into whatever I am today. It definitely shaped me, because I became very independent all of a sudden too, because the schedule was really rough. So my mom couldn't always, pick me up, take me there, drive me there. So I had to do a lot of those things. It was like, all right, if this is what you want, this you have to, you're gonna have to put in some effort and do exactly. You have to like like, I'll give you the money for the bus and I'll tell you which one to take, but like you are on your own to like go back home or go to the rehearsals.
Yeah.
So it also felt very good to be like, okay, yeah, I'm really serious about this and I'm working for this and I'll make the effort.
Where were you at this time?
This was Bogotá, Colombia. Yeah.
Okay. So, wow, young, 13.
Yeah, I was
that's
young.
really young. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun to do that. So, when did you move out here?
I finished high school pretty early. I was like 16, so I moved to the States right after high school. And then I made my way to New York around 17. And yeah.
Just with your mom or
no,
just yourself?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Who did you move in with?
Well, my dad lives in North Carolina, so I was there for like a little bit under a year. And then I just moved to New York with someone from Craigslist. Yeah.
Wow, you were young and brave, but also, yeah, a little like Craigslist.
Yeah.
Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to. Sometimes that's how you learn.
Yeah, and I mean,
would you do that now?
Well, I mean, I think...
Would you go back in Craigslist and find something?
I've done it. I mean, I've done it again.
Oh, okay.
It's not in recent years, but Craigslist overall was pretty useful for me. I think it can be a great resource. Yes, of course. It can also be, like, weird and, sketchy, but you can still find pretty good stuff. So I was able to find roommates or jobs throughout Craigslist in the first couple of years that I was
What made you want to just do that, jump into New York instead of California?
Well, I was doing way more theater then. Anyways, that's what I had.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense to go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So theater is definitely bigger in New York, and I don't know. I just always liked New York. I was kind of obsessed with it, and
you make it there.
Yeah.
You make it anywhere.
Yeah. I like the big city lifestyle. I've been there before, and I just fell in love with the city. Truly, I was like, this is where I want to live, and this is where I'm gonna move to.
What are like the first things? I'm curious. What are the first things that you realized that were a challenge at that age?
I mean, it's interesting because I think there's pros and cons of living on your own from a young age. Obviously, there were a lot of things that I had to grow up quickly and do that I didn't realize. But at the same time, I felt like I had this like extra energy and bravado that would get me through anything. Yeah. Like maybe now I'll be like, oh no, that was awful, but back then I was like,
I can't believe
do it.
I did that.
I think that helped a lot because even there were like hard things that maybe don't seem as hard, right? Or like it just changed a little bit on the perspective towards a problem or an issue. Because I was like, well, we're here to make it through it, so we'll figure it out, kind of thing. So,
did you had any moments or nights that you kind of just at that age or those years that you were there, did you feel scared?
I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm a little too brave for my own good, because sometimes fear, it's useful.
Yeah.
And it can be like a defense mechanism. But I had a lot of bad experiences. I don't think I luckily was. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I wasn't like scared. Scary would be more like, all right,
it didn't discourage.
What
you.
do we do now about this, or
Oh, that's
try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or, sure, inconvenient or something happened, but I kind of miss that about myself sometimes. I'm like, wow, I was just like so, like, just get through anything, which I can't say I'm like that anymore. So there was definitely something about just doing it at that age that felt like,
when did you,
I can do anything.
When did you transfer to California?
I moved here 2 years ago, so October 2020, middle of the pandemic.
Change?
It was a big change, yes. Big change, but I love it. I think it was the right time overall.
The right time for it? What made you want to move out here?
Essentially the pandemic sort of, ended all the things that I was working on in New York, and it seems...
were you there when it hit?
Yeah. I was
Holy shit, so you were there when it all started. Oh, that really sucks.
Yeah,
How
it was bad.
that?
It was bad. It was pretty bad. I lived, unfortunately, right next to a huge hospital, so they had like the mobile morgues right outside my place.
We don't hear a lot of stories about people in New York that was really seeing it themselves instead of us out here seeing it through the news, but you actually being there. So you were where, next to what hospital?
I don't even remember the name. It was in Brooklyn. I think it was King's something hospital, but it was just a big hospital. And it overall, I used to like living near hospitals because that meant that whatever time at night I felt safe because there's always people, workers, things around, lights on around hospitals. But for a pandemic, definitely not the place to be. So, when they were running out of space in the morgues, they would set up mobile morgues. So it would be this like essentially buses that would have the corpses and they would just park them around the hospital, like street parking. And then when they run out of space on that, then they would start using the local parks near the hospitals to just dump the bodies. So it was just, it was a lot.
See all that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it was a lot.
What were you doing when it first initially, they said it's closed down, New York, everyone has to stay in? What were you doing?
I was in rehearsals for an off-Broadway play that we were going to take on a national tour. So that's what I was doing.
Oh shit! You were about to like step into.
Oh, it was gonna be a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was the lead, so yeah.
Oh, man.
It was exciting, but that's okay. We got a few previews and runs in, so at least I got to do the play.
So that day that they mentioned it, you were. What were you doing?
You mean like the day?
The day.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I even remember much of the exact day because I think it was a mathematical certainty that New York would get it. So since December when things started back in China, and I was in Colombia visiting my family around January, and I was like, it's just a matter of time. It's gonna hit New York. It's just it's a matter of time.
Yeah, because everyone travels in, brought us like out of the country.
It's New York.
It's New York.
It's New York City. I mean, it just, I don't know. I feel like in a sense I wasn't too surprised. So I prepared myself a little bit, and I knew that, once I go back to New York for my trip, things were like, that's when they start to do the temperature checks at JFK airport and things like that. So I think I had to go to one of the gyms that I teach fitness at, or was teaching back then. And I was going to whatever regular class was scheduled. Mm-hmm. And then on the way there, everything was like super empty. It was like starting to look a little ghost town, which for New York, it's odd.
Weird, yeah.
And then while I was on the way, I got a call from like my manager saying that they were, the classes were canceled effective immediately. Yeah. So I remember getting off and like, I was already in Manhattan. I lived in Brooklyn. It was like, all right, let me grab some coffee or something so I don't like miss the long train ride I just took. And then when I started walking around, everything was like shut down. I was like, all right, I should just go back home.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you prepare like to stay in like
I mean, yes and no. I think yes in a way, but I don't think anyone could foresee what that would entail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like in my mind I had like whatever hand sanitizer and like masks and things like that, but that only was a small part and only lasted for a while. So in my mind, that was as prepared as we could be. I had a roommate back then, so both of us had some stuff.
Oh my god! Well, at least you were with someone, because some people were just on their own, like by themselves, and I'm just like, how the heck did you? It's like a lot of TikTok. I'm like, I see. Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. When did? So it was months. It was not just weeks. It was months. When is it when you kind of just realize? Like, shit, I need to get out of here. Because
it didn't take me that long.
Okay.
Because
you're very active.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
And I think again because I knew.
And
I don't know.
It's an apartment, small.
Yeah. It's a tiny Brooklyn apartment.
Exactly.
Yes. And I think around April, maybe May or June, I want to say, I just knew like things were only gonna get worse, and I just couldn't stay in New York. Just having to go grocery shopping next to all those like freaking bodies was just like, what? Like, no, this is just not the life.
What bodies? Like the bodies that
the mobile morgues, because they were so packed that even the buses that they used were too full, so they would have actual body bags on the street or on the park near me, because the mobile morgues were like also, it was like a whole thing.
That's
so
morbid.
Having to walk to the grocery store, which was the only thing one ever left for. I mean, I think it was so surreal that at first it's like, is this like a movie? Like, what's going on?
Like
you really
like
can't.
The Outbreak. What's that one movie?
Many. Oh, we could.
Like the one with Matt Damon. The people, everybody.
Contagion.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah. So I think that was essentially. It was one of those days that as soon as they started to park the mobile morgues in front of my apartment, I was like, just
No, that's very eerie because if you're spiritual,
it's so eerie. Oh my gosh.
Because that's
that
really,
was bad.
for me, I would probably be cleansing my room and make sure, because that's body spirits that have not, whatever was going on got hit.
It was heavy.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
You
So
feeling that.
my dad lives in North Carolina, so I took a train down there because he's like in a smaller town, big house.
You're like,
I was like, I just gotta leave. Yeah. So I left. And then I was there for like 5 months at least. I was there for a long time. And then my lease was up, I think, around August or September. So my landlord emailed me to see if I would re-sign the lease. And I was like, hell no.
Yeah, that everybody there was out.
I mean, I had been paying.
Everybody that was there was getting out.
I had been paying rent for 5 months. I was still paying it. Like, I didn't miss any payments. I was just like, I'm just paying like the most expensive storage ever, essentially. Because I'm just paying for my things to stay there.
Basically.
So after that, I just hired movers to bring my stuff to North Carolina, and then I decided I would just move to LA. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big reason to move out.
Yeah, because I took an online acting class with an acting coach here, and most of the actors in class were based in LA, and they were still working. It was way less and much more restricted, but there were things still shooting in LA.
How did it feel? Like, the one thing I've noticed with a lot of actors was the transition of doing your own reel. Like, you guys had to pretty much submit things by filming yourself instead of actually going to the place. How it was before.
I mean, it's a big change, and like everything, there's like pros and cons. So you have a little bit more power, right? Like, usually you go to an audition and like 1-2 takes and that's it. Taping yourself, you're obviously able to do a different take or edit something, change it if you need to. So that's definitely a plus because you have a little bit more power on that. Like,
you can
to send the right tape versus like, this is the one thing you got in.
You got one time and that's it.
And if it wasn't that great, then it wasn't. But at the same time, it's a lot of work production-wise, and sometimes that can be distracting because then you can't fully focus on your performance if you're thinking, is the light good? Is the sound good? Are my roommates making noise? Is the reader good? Like all of these other moving parts. But then again, on like a pro side, it definitely made me, for the first time, at least in my career, think from like behind the camera and more on that sense, which was pretty cool too. So it was, there were good things and not so good things.
It's so crazy. I didn't know like that you had dead bodies all around you in New York. That is
fun
crazy
stuff.
That's a good reason to come back to, to come to California.
I was like, let's move out, guys. That sounds like a great idea.
So when you got here, I mean, I'm sure you visited California before in the past.
Only once in my life now, like a long time ago,
Oh, so coming in, what was like the first thing you wanted to do? Was it like thing you remember that you're like, I want to do this?
It's so funny because I don't think I even had any idea. I was just like, LA, it's where the work is. Let's move there.
Or anything that kind of like just wowed you?
Pool. I wanted a pool. That was on my vision board.
That is a big thing.
And I got a place with a pool.
Yeah.
So the first week I probably went to the pool every day. And it's like weekdays. I remember being like, it's Wednesday at 2 p.m. and I'm at a pool. Yay. So that's probably the most LA thing I felt like I could do when I moved here.
Yeah, they do have pools, but it's...
Not really. They're indoors, all of them.
Exactly.
So.
It's different from outdoors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's like big thing there. What's, I guess, what was the change, like, factor? Like, you felt kind of, like, different from New York to California. Like, what was so different?
So much. I mean, it's a big difference, I think.
Because we heard Californians, like friends that are from California that are living in New York, so they've told us their situation. But now it's like, I gotta hear from New York to California. So.
I mean, it's definitely way more chill. So energy-wise, things are super slow here, which was a little hard for me at first because I was like, all right, this is moving too slow. I need more things to go. And it was pandemic too, so things were even slower than usual.
I can relate to that. I used to work as a tech, like ophthalmologist technician, and we would see over 100 patients. So it's always a go.
Yeah.
And then from there, transitioning to a smaller practice where it was literally just 2 people and a doctor, and we only see 10 patients a day.
Oh, that's a big difference, yes.
From over 100 and something to 10, it was so slow that I was just like, I need something to do. I would
Yes.
literally be cleaning, feng shuiing his office, like, going through, like, all categorizing stuff, because I'm just like, this is it's too, I need to be up. Because you're so used to.
Yeah.
You're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're good. Went to, like, 1. All right, let's hold on for a second here. Yeah. So it was a big change for it.
It was a big change, yes.
But did you like that?
Yes and no. I think it took a little while to fully adjust to it. And I think now I see the benefits, and I think I was definitely feeling burned out after, like, 12, 13 years of nonstop hustle in New York.
So it's a good pause.
It was. But at first, it was hard.
Yeah.
Because I get too anxious when I don't have anything to do.
I see.
And that's what was
What
happening.
do you do when you don't have anything to do?
I essentially have to distract my brain. So anything that I consider active meditation, to not sit with my thoughts, essentially.
Okay.
So it could be working out, yoga, boxing. It can be painting.
What happens when you're sitting down to your thought? Is it like negative?
I mean, it's not necessarily negative.
Is it just running too much?
It just doesn't stop.
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say, it's not negative, but is it just like running and it's just nonstop?
Does not stop. Yeah.
What is it that kind of like, not bothers you, but what's the issue for that for you?
Well, I feel like I'm not in the moment, so I am thinking of things that are not even important that I'm like running on my head, and it feels a little pointless too. Like, what's the point? It's not even relevant. It's not important. I could be using this time and energy towards something else.
Now the question here is, when did you start realizing when it wasn't like you're like in that mode and you're just like, there's no point of me thinking about this? Because that's a practice, to recognize those points and kind of stop yourself. When did you start noticing you're like, okay, I'm starting to see this, I need to walk away from that?
I don't think I necessarily had a moment. I've been working in therapy for many years, and through yoga and yoga teacher training, meditation. So it's been like a long process to get to that point. I think,
which is still a practice to do it all the time. Yeah.
Yes, I think I am, for the most part, I've always been very self-aware of what goes on in my brain. Is usually more like I'm not always well equipped to know what to do with it, or things stop working that were working before. But I don't know, my anxiety just started to get worse over the last few years. So it was just more like also noticing that, like, all right, this didn't used to be like this. Now why am I feeling like
you're trying to track down to why this has changed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if, honestly, I don't think I've ever looked into the why. It's more like, all right, what can I do to deal with this now? Sure, if there are some triggers that I know I can avoid or deal with, but for the most part, it's like, all right, if this is the way my brain's working, then how do we, help it?
Manage, go around it. Yeah, your wellness. Yeah, that's true. That's why I just asked, because I noticed that for a lot of people, either before you've been practicing it, you've been like working on it for years.
I have.
And for some that are just getting into it, they're just realizing like what triggers, or they just realize, well, I'm getting to that point. Let me stop myself and see what to do. That's why I asked, because there's, that's why I wanted to know, like, what do you do to kind of get yourself out of it? But it's been practice. What does yoga do for you?
I mean, I call it active meditation. So for myself, yoga means that I have to pay attention to my breathing, how it goes, when I inhale, when I exhale, where my hand goes, where my foot goes.
So your mind is literally just focusing. That's funny, because
there's no room for anything else.
My philosopher professor literally was started off, like, every time we get in the classroom, he would be like, all right, everybody sit down. All right, everyone, close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now forget about everything else and focus on your fingertips. Breathe in, breathe out. And, like, focus on your chest or focus on your knees. And he would work us from toe all the way up to our head, and then relax, come back to our heart. And he's like, okay, let's start our classroom. Which makes sense, because he would always say, whatever was going through you, whatever you went through, I just want you to focus on what I'm about to do right now. And it worked. Because for all of us, we talked about as students, I was having like a fucked up day the other day, and just like, this helped. Because now I can focus in the classroom. Which is crazy. It was a philosopher professor that did that for us. That was pretty cool. So I get the whole thing for you, since you have a lot of things happening. When you focus, Like, you just focus in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I choose to do things that are a little bit more challenging, so I really have to focus on them. For a while, I was doing a lot of, like, dance classes, like, different dances or choreography that, for me, it's hard to follow. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because I was like, I am having such a hard time following the steps, so I'm great, because I can't think of anything else except, like, where am I
Because you're like,
going?
I'm trying to get this dance
So I very much enjoy that.
That's funny.
Yeah, those were fun. Yeah.
Then, what else do you do besides that?
I'm
assuming, like, when you go swimming, that really feels peaceful.
Yes, I'm a beach girl, and I love the sun. So that's probably, if not the only time, but one of the few times that I don't need to, like, to purposely distract myself, because I'm actually enjoying the moment.
Yeah, same
One
here.
of the few places that I don't need to.
Pool and beach girl. Yeah, literally, in the summer, I have my pillows, my whole, like, beach equipment stuff in there. Nice. Even an extra bathing suit just in case.
Cute, I like that.
Yeah, because it's, for me, the beach is peaceful. Because the one thing I tell people, like, if you're having a really bad day, really shitty day, and you just want to get out, I tell them, just go to the dog beach.
Oh,
like,
that's
just
adorable.
go there.
Yes.
And it's why, because it doesn't matter how shitty you feel, you're going to smile. You're going to smile. You're going to start laughing. You're going to smile because there's so many dogs. They're doing so many stupid, funny things. And they're so adorable.
They are.
That I shit you not, if you're feeling, like, really bad, you're going to smile. And I got there there's been days where I felt really bad. To the point where I was like, I don't feel like smiling. Like, nothing's going to cheer me up. And so I would just drive up there, the Huntington Beach. They have a beach dock there. And sit down and just, like, watch all the dogs. And I would legit start feeling better. Not like, oh, it cured, like, whatever moment I was feeling. But it really helped me where I was like, okay, I'm smiling. I'm laughing. Okay, cool. Then I would leave and feel just a little bit better. Just a little more lighter. Nature, the sand, the ocean, the dogs. Now I tell people, it doesn't matter what you're doing, just go there. Just go and sit. But that's really cool that you go to the beach thing. You're definitely a Cali girl now.
Oh, I am, yes. The lifestyle suits me quite well.
So so that's actually a good thing, what you're telling, the yoga meditation. Where can people, like, search for that? Like, the yoga meditation, just how do they...
so many. I mean,
because there's a lot of different ones. There's a lot of different ones. Like,
I mean, I think, like anything,
what
you
would
should
you
just
recommend,
try them.
I guess?
I don't know, because I feel like everyone's different, and there's, like, so many different types of yoga
Mm-hmm.
and modalities and breath work and meditation and
Yeah.
things. So I would, for most places do, like, a trial week or something, like, unlimited. So I would just
Have you tried the goat yoga?
I wanted to in New York. I did buy the tickets, I remember, when I was living there, but the health department denied it, and they had to refund, and they had to cancel the event. So I haven't done that yet, but yeah.
Would you do it? You would do it? If you
Oh
had
yeah,
it
I would love to, yeah. I think it came actually here to LA, but I was out of town at the moment. So.
Yeah, I have heard that it's here.
Yeah, I would love to do that, because, I mean, I've done puppy yoga, and I've taught classes
I've heard
of
puppy yoga.
Yeah.
Oh my god, how distracting is
Yeah,
that?
it's so cute. It's very, very cute.
Jeez, I think for next, like, podcast, I should just have a bunch of puppies and be like,
oh my gosh.
Like, how are we going to do this? We're just touching the puppies everywhere.
Like those BuzzFeed interviews that they just give them a bunch of puppies.
I
don't know how. I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm busy.
I would be distracted because I'd be like, oh my god.
So funny. And then they're asking them questions about their movies and stuff, and I'm like, let them play with the puppies.
I know. And then when they're actually responding back, they have like this big smile,
so
and they're just
cute.
like, I'm just super happy right now. Like, yeah,
I would love that type of interview.
Oh
yes,
gosh,
please.
I would love that. Yeah, I want to adopt another dog.
Aww.
Because I need more security in the house.
Okay.
Because I have 2 small dogs and a medium dog. A Husky German Shepherd, she's a mix. Then I have a Terrier Chihuahua, he's small. And then
Cute.
I have a Yorkie Maltese, and he's tinier. He's like, literally, you cannot feel him at all. But I have to get another dog, and as a family, we're going to go and see if we can adopt a dog.
Nice.
I'm not sure what yet. Whatever's there, and whatever, like, it enjoys children, and, well, my daughter, and then other dogs, so should be good.
Nice.
Yeah, so so you do the yoga thing, and what else?
For, like,
Or,
anxiety?
like, just to kind of meditate yourself, kind of make you feel better.
Any type of workout for me, boxing and kickboxing has been, like, the saving grace of my mental health, because, again, you have to be so aware of what you're doing, otherwise you get hit in the face, essentially. So
Yeah.
it's just a great way to fight anxiety, because I have no room to think about my problems or my thoughts, because I have to be so mindful of what I'm doing and where I'm hitting and
How
stuff.
bad is your anxiety?
I mean, I don't know how to
Not
measure
bad.
that.
Not bad,
It's
but
pretty
I mean,
bad,
like,
I guess.
From
it just doesn't
from you.
stop. It
Yeah.
does not stop.
Because
So.
everyone has anxiety. I have anxiety.
Yeah.
I have moments where I have anxiety and it kicks in, but I guess I'm not saying how bad it is. I want to say just from your experience, you know, what would you consider your anxiety, I guess?
I mean, my anxiety and my depression are like very much linked.
Mm-hmm.
So when one is worse, the other one also, tags along.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, I think it's gotten worse in the sense that I used to be able to handle it or hide it, kind of thing. And then over the last few years, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can't handle it at all. I'm just gonna, it's gonna come out.
Do you think that you kind of suppressed it?
I mean, I would try. Yeah, I would try to suppress it at first, for sure. But then it came to a point where it's like, I can't
it overloads.
function.
Yeah.
I have to either say it or, you
Yeah.
know, take it out on someone or excuse myself and just go and have a moment.
Yeah.
So it affects my behavior, for sure.
When did you start noticing this?
I don't know. I mean, maybe like 5-6 years ago.
What changed?
No idea. I don't actually have anything specific. I think it just started to feel like, I'm worrying a lot more about things that haven't happened, and I am really in my head, and I'm overthinking everything, and it just started to kind of feel like it was building up and growing, so.
And then what do you do to fix that?
And
I'm just repeating it again so people can see that you're aware that you do this, but
Sure.
you also know how to not fix it, but sort of like calm yourself down and calm those anxieties.
I think there's two main things that I like to be aware of. One is that I have to distract my brain. And that's okay, because I fought it for a while. I was like, what do you mean I have to distract myself from myself? Like, that to me sounded like so sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't even handle my own
Yeah.
thoughts. But then it's like, no, it's okay. You are doing what you can. So distracting myself completely, that's what I need to do. I feel like I'm like a little kid, and I just like, refocus. And
Yeah.
so anything, again, that's why I like active meditation, which again, it just essentially anything that requires a big part of your brain power. So you can't give any room to whatever is bothering you. And then the other thing that I learned and has been great is to excuse myself. And even if it sounds rude at the moment, but let's say I'm having, some sort of issue or episode, and I'm with you, and perhaps you're trying to help, but, sometimes that feels more overwhelming. I can say to you, I'm sorry, please just give me a second.
Yeah.
And genuinely just walk away, go to a bathroom, whatever I need to do to calm down or deal with it.
That's good, because that's one thing that this is why I did the podcast and the wellness for women, mental wellness, is because one of the things that we don't do as women when we, and I get the whole point of like when we meet and we barely know each other, that's not the case. It's just the factor that if we meet and we sit down and I ask like, how's your day going? How are you? We sugarcoat that. We really do sugarcoat it. We kind of just line ourselves, everything's amazing, it's great, like, oh, it's awesome. And I kind of want that stereotype to I want that to stop. I kind of want it to be like, if I sat down with you, like right now, and say, like, how's your day so far? Like, how are you? Are you okay? You should feel comfortable to be like, you know what? I'm having a little episode, so if this happens, or, I didn't have a great time, and I should project that as if, I should be okay with that. And I should be like, are you okay me being here? Or should we change this for another time? Or do you need any help? Instead of thinking, which a lot of women do this, where it's like, girl, I don't think this is the right time for you to be talking to me about this, or I'm not the right person for this. And I hate that, because it's sort of like, hey, you have moments like that too. Not to the extent and not maybe similar to the other person, but you have moments like this. And it should be a norm thing where we sit down and we kind of tell each other, like, are you okay? You fine? All right, perfect. Because in the end of the day, then I understand you a little bit more. Then we relate more in regards of that. Like right now, if I had not known this information, I would have taken your, like, I can't deal with this at the moment as rudeness.
Right, and it has happened, and I understand.
And get it.
But luckily, I've been able to, at least with close friends, now they know.
Well, yeah.
And it's great because they don't take it personally, they don't see it as rude, and they give me the space or the time that I need.
But that's the thing, like, even in your side, you don't say anything because it's not a norm. It's sort of like, I gotta, like, hide this because, you know, someone might take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it should be a normal thing. And I love how nowadays, you know, our mental wellness is being brought up more.
Yeah.
And it's more open that way. It's just like my son when he had autism. When he got autism, or when we discovered he had autism, it was at a time that it was just
so
barely
taboo,
starting talking about it. Nobody really knew what it was. They were just starting to recognize it, what the treatments or whatever he needed to do. So it was so hard to talk to people, or sort of like, oh, I'm so sorry, I apologize. Apologizing.
Right, like,
apologizing.
you shouldn't talk about it, yeah.
Exactly, and apologizing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of like, now I'm like, you know what? No, I'm tricking this because I myself have anxiety. People always ask me, how do you do it? Like, you're a single mom of 4 kids and all this stuff, and you do all of this too? Oh my God. And I'm like, I don't know how I just do it. But in the same time, people don't really realize, like, I have my moments. Right. You know, like, I have moments where I cry and I get frustrated and I don't know what's going to happen, you know, and that, a lot of people don't talk about it.
Yeah, I cry a lot, and I'm all for crying. There's, like, actual studies that I can't even quote, because I'm not as well versed in it anymore, but, like, it's an actual chemical release of stress or anxiety or whatever chemical in your brain deals with that.
It is.
So I'm all for crying.
It is. It's good for
Don't
crying.
hold it in.
And I heard that when you tear up, you're not supposed to smear it. It's good for your skin.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, you're not supposed to touch it.
Okay.
It's supposedly the tears are good for your skin. I was like, really?
Nice.
Yeah, it's strange. I was like, okay, enjoy. A positive thing, guys. You cry, don't touch it. It's good for your skin. So, but yeah, crying is a good thing. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I went to school, got my bachelor's in psychology. I know that whole thing, but we don't use it. It's not aware of there. And this may be a small platform, but it's at least out there for people to know.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing of this, is just people to know that, look, Alex is a beautiful, amazing person overall, people. And you would never know that she has these issues. Ever. Ever. Never. You would never know. Because we see from the outside, you know, the cover of the book and it looks amazing. But when we really read into it, we know. And
right.
Guess what? That's like a value of respect. There's a value of like, wow, she goes through a lot, but she has it handled really good. And that's why I want people to know, like, we're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not always that way.
It's not always that way.
I think for the first time, probably ever, I'm at a good place.
That's good.
Wasn't always like that.
No, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, people need to know that we're not always like that.
Yeah,
It's never like that.
It took a lot of work. I mean, I'm a big believer in therapy. I know some people don't like it, but there's also many kinds of therapists out there.
There's so many different kinds.
And I have combined many different types as well. It's been like years of working on it and being more open and conversations. Medication, big fan of medication, guys. I mean, if you have a chemical imbalance,
oh yeah,
works wonders.
I've
I
met
think
so
it's
many women in
important
the
to
podcast
consider
that
if it's part of your diagnosis. I just think some people, you know, the medication part is also very taboo and scary. If it's going to help you, then let it help you, you know?
Some of us don't have enough of that chemical imbalance that it's actually giving us to us, so we need that medication to give it. You know, I've met people that are depressed, but that's because they actually lack, and they need to take the medication.
There's so many different types of depression and diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I want to say that even anything that I'm saying that helps me, there's so many different kinds of both issues and solutions or aids. So there's not like a one formula
it's okay. Medication's okay. Like,
whatever
don't
works
get scared of it
for you. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying everybody should be medicated, but
no.
If your diagnosis calls for it and you have a psychiatrist that's recommending it, you know, just definitely consider it. So
that's really good, because a lot of people don't hear that. A lot of people just think.
I think that's a very taboo topic.
Yeah, it's very
taboo.
taboo.
It's like, well, I mean, if you have diabetes, you're not ashamed of saying like, hey, I need some insulin today.
You know, there's people born,
So
there's
why
people
is
born
there-
that way.
Yeah, like,
And
it's
they-
okay to need your
Yeah.
medication,
No, it's
whatever it
true.
might be for.
Well,
So.
because a lot of people don't know that in therapy, when you are considering to do therapy and find your therapist, you're not bound to just do one. And I told him, it's like your physician. It's like you're trying to find the right professor or the right thing. You do your research. You take a moment, you sit down with them. If it doesn't work out, search for something else. Search for someone else, you know. A lot of people don't think that. People just, I want to say a lot of people go do a therapy and say it didn't work out,
Right.
it wasn't really
Yeah,
that great.
sadly, yes.
And I'm just like, well, you gotta do your research and you gotta like try other people, try someone else until it feels comfortable. Until it feels okay. And like you said, there's different kinds
There's
of
so many different
there's
kinds.
so many
I mean,
different
I've
kinds.
done like group therapy, support groups, like so many different things.
There's a lot of different things,
Yeah.
and I hate that people don't know that you're more welcome to do, you know, to search. And the cool part about it is some people are not, they don't feel comfortable even going in person. They even have one like you can talk over the phone, you know. to
Yeah,
start
there's
off with.
luckily nowadays there are more resources.
Yeah,
for
I did
that.
like that when the pandemic hit and people needed to talk to
Mhm.
people, they would do the Zoom meetings.
I like that because some individuals don't feel comfortable being right across that person
Yeah,
in person,
that's fair.
basically. But no, I like that you're mentioning that it's okay if you're diagnosed and take medication. There's no shame of
There
doing
shouldn't
that.
be. It's like,
It's
I
none.
have a mental illness. There is a chemical imbalance. It's just my
Yeah.
brain works that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me.
No, you should say, you should
just have
look
to take a pill.
You should look at
Done.
the camera and be
Yeah.
like, it's okay, people. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I
it's
like that.
important to talk about it, and I think that's unfortunately part of the taboo of it is that then people don't seek treatment
No.
or don't know how to seek treatment because they
No.
don't even want to talk about it
And
as
when
someone.
they do, they give up because they're just like, I don't get this. Yeah, it's true, and I hate that. And I'm an advocate when it comes to that. I tell them, did you try another person? Did you seek out?
Yeah.
Like, your insurance covers for at least 3 or 4, possibly 5 sessions, so take advantage. Doesn't work out with this one, work out for someone else. I always tell people that because it's so good to talk to somebody who can guide you in a better direction.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, most of us have a hard time accepting that we need help, right? That's like the first
That's
step.
true.
But I think also sometimes,
But we don't want to be like, fuck, I'm so crazy, I need to take medication. That is the taboo. People don't be like, wow, I'm really screwed up. And that's the thing, that's not the case. Everyone goes to depressions. Like, I'm just letting you know, everybody that has anxiety, everybody has panic attacks, depression. My daughter, hold on. Why are you on? My daughter went through, which I don't know how I didn't recognize it, went through depression at 6 years old. Depression, 6-year-old. To when I started noticing the school, it was this whole big issue with the school and we situated, but I started noticing she wasn't smiling enough. She was really sad. She didn't want to go to school. She didn't want to play with her toys. Just like really depression mode kid, and I'm just like, I recognize this, but I usually recognize it in adults. I don't recognize it in kids. Even kids go through minor depressions. Like, people need to know there's peaks, there's high peaks and low peaks. And we need to start opening and talking about it, because even children need therapy, you know, for it. Like, if I had therapy when I was a kid, oh my God.
I think that's
I
part of
would've
the things doesn't, ideally, you
Yeah.
don't want to wait until something is so wrong
No.
that you are desperate for
No.
someone to help you.
Yeah.
I think therapy can totally be a useful tool before or without
It would
anything
be nice
major.
to be a norm for children to
Happen.
have
Yes.
therapy. Yeah,
I
the
was
only-
lucky that I went to therapy since I was a child. So
See, my kids,
that was
my
very
kids
helpful.
are doing that right now because they needed a therapist. So they needed several doctors because they have autism. Except my daughter, but for my daughter, because I'm there and I recognize it, I'm constantly always trying to ensure and have her have conversations with me. But for my sons, they've had it, and I seriously think if it was not a taboo and it was more of a normal thing, children should have a therapist, should have someone
Everybody should
should
go
have
to
a
therapy.
counselor to sit down and talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it makes me think like the counselors that we grew up with in college. I mean, not college, in high school. Even I like my counselor. I would actually visit my counselor like every like once a week and be like, hey, what's up? They're like, hey, and I'm like, so I have a question about this. And it's nice to just sit down and seek, help or hear somebody else saying, it's okay. Like, you're okay.
I mean, I'm all for also somebody else paying someone else to call me out on my shit. I'm like, nice. I need you to tell me the things that I'm not recognizing in myself, that I am taking out on others.
Yeah.
So for me, that's also been a great discovery through therapy. Is like, oh, that's right, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Didn't notice until you tell me,
No, it's funny because when you
so.
study it, because I studied for so many years, but when you study it, I was not applying anything for myself. I wasn't. I mean, I recognized it, but I wasn't. Because again, that's that moment where you're just like, no, it's not happening. Like, I'm okay. I'm good. Until I really, that too late, no, I think I really need to talk to someone. Yeah. And I did started talking to someone, and I'm like, I need to make sure I don't come in thinking, like, this is me. If I were to come in and I met a therapist, I would act in a certain way where I don't want you to pick up anything from me. I don't want you to assume, the way I'm moving, the way I'm talking, how I'm talking, what kind of words I'm using when I'm having that conversation.
And it takes a while. I mean,
I made sure, I made sure not to come off like something's wrong with me. So when I first started doing therapy with my therapist, I was like, okay, you need to come in just whatever. You have to be open. They have to see you. They have to see your body language, how you talk, and that's the only way you're going to be.
It's definitely awkward at first.
It's weird.
I have been therapy shopping many, many times, and yes, the first, I think I had one therapist that did the best, intro kind of situation, and she would give you a call, when you booked or whatnot, and I remember she would tell me, give me 5 sessions. We'll both give each other 5 sessions to see if it's yes or no. Anything less than that, it's not going to be enough to figure it out, because it's going to feel weird and awkward at first, but around session number 5, we can both know if it's a good match. And I think that's a good thing to think about if you start with a therapist. And sure, sometimes it doesn't click right away, and that's fine, but it's going to be awkward at
all
first.
My professors are all therapists, so that's a cool part. When you go to college, you get free therapy with your professors. If you're cool with them, you get free therapy. So I would get free therapy in college. But yeah, you're right. When you go in, you have to give the opportunity. In other words, you have to step out of your box also, too, when you're in it.
But I think just the example you were saying that you try to act a certain way, I think that is very common. And it's even I'm super open, and I've been in therapy many years on and off, very comfortable with it, and still a new therapist means that I'm going to be a little different at first.
You are.
Even if I'm trying to open up and talk about my issues. So I think
I was more extra because I knew exactly how it was going to turn out. I know how the intro and the beginning of it, and I was always been afraid of okay, if I say something, it'll be wrong. See, that was my problem. Okay. That was my problem in the beginning, because I knew when you're a student of psychology, and you go in your head too much, and you're just like, so I know what you're doing. I know exactly where you're trying to lead me to, and that's the thing where I was just like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be just be fresh, you don't know nothing.
Even therapists.
Nothing. Just go in nothing happened. So it works out. You guys need to go. I love that now it's bringing up more. You see more people talking about it. And I love the conversations. I've been noticing this a lot. That is becoming a norm kind of conversation where I'm like, oh yeah, I just want to see my therapist. I'm taking this and that. And it's not how before, cause I can tell you when I'm in my early 20s, and if I heard that at the time, people were just like, it still happens today, but not as much. But I noticed everybody that I'm around that actually mentioned that they're seeing a therapist, it's not a taboo, and it doesn't feel very negative. Yeah. You're just, oh, no way, that's really good. It's always that's good that you're doing that. That's awesome. It makes me feel like you understand what's going with you, and you're taking care of yourself, which is a good thing. When before, I can tell you right now, it was not like that. It was more damn, what's wrong with you? Why do you need to see a therapist? Can't you just, figure it out yourself? And that's how I was, in my early 20s. That's, 2004 at that time. And even before then, it was like that. But lately, every person that I meet and have conversations and we talk about that, it feels so generic and normal, and it feels nice, and it makes me say, I usually tell them, like, that's really good you've seen a therapist, because I know you're taking care of yourself, compared to, like, fuck, if you're all fucked up and you're not seeing anybody, I'll be worried. I'll be like, really, like, don't you need a therapy or something?
Oh, I tell everyone.
Yeah.
Like, a comment or something that I'm like, slightly concerned about you. Have you considered seeing a therapist? So, yeah.
But I like that. If you've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed the circle of friends that I have, and they talk about, oh, you haven't seen this. I'm like, I get really happy, which that should be a norm thing. You should get happy. I mean, they're being seen.
I share tips with my friends. Like, we share, like, therapist tips. So, like, oh, my therapist mentioned this and that. And I'm like, all right, that's useful. Well, she told me about this and that. Like, we have, like, little sessions about, like, useful tips that help them or something. Just to see if maybe somebody else could use that.
Super good, because that should be a normal thing.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be, like...
And sometimes I like telling people, she leaves me homework. There's things that I need to, like, do. So sometimes it makes me feel more accountable if I tell you, my therapist told me to do this. So, like, don't let me not do it, right? Like, if it's something that may involve you in a way, or a behavior that I need to start looking into. I'm like, all right, my therapist told me to do this, so I have to do this. So just so you know, help me do this, kind of.
Yeah, no. That's why a therapist would be like, I'm going to leave homework for you. And they always give you the option. It's up to you to do it.
Right.
Because I'm not there to hold your hand, But I love that. Yeah, I love when therapists give you, like, work to do. And then if you do it, then you kind of see... You do and you don't see it. And if you do see it, it might be at that moment, or you see it later on in the road when you're continuing your session.
The way I see it is like, I pay so much money out of pocket for this advice, so I better do it. Whatever they tell me, I will do it.
Oh, yeah, they're expensive.
Get most out of my money.
See, I have the luxury that I'm very, very happy that I got to... My professors are mentors, and they're friends. So when I go to them... It's really, like, nothing. Like, I'm very thankful. But it's worth it. It's worth paying every dollar bill if you're going to do it.
I mean, it's... I see it as just like a gym membership. But to keep up my body, then I have, like, a therapy membership. And that's just what I pay them on.
I think insurances should definitely, like, pay for this, honestly. Like, they started to. I know some major ones started to, but it's... I think the one I had before, it only gave me, like, 5 sessions that it would pay.
That's really
And I'm just like, 5 fucking sessions?
That's nothing.
5? Yeah, 5. But I encourage people, if you have insurance, take advantage of it. Look into it. If you're going to go start, because it's that elephant in the room. And then you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to continue doing this. I'm so happy that you do that. Okay, tell people, we're jumping into something else. What you're doing now. What's upcoming?
Like, in general?
In general.
What am I doing now? Well, I just came back from vacation, so I feel like I'm not back yet.
You were partying.
I was very,
water. You were partying.
I was traveling a lot, so which was fun, and I'm glad I was able to do it. What is next? I don't know. I mean,
wait, you can tell people what you did.
I went to a wedding outside of the country, and it was like a long celebration. It was lovely, it was beautiful, but it was also very busy and exciting.
With a parade.
Yes, it was beautiful. So I feel like I need to, I'm still literally flew back last night, so I need to, like, get back in to the groove of things. I did change my hair, which it is a big deal in the acting world, so I just need to rebrand and up my marketing materials.
Rebranding.
I think it's exciting. It's always good to, even if without an actual change in your look, you should do it like every 6 months to a year, because you change as a person, either physically or, personality wise, so that can change then whatever roles you go through. So yeah, I'm all for rebranding or just reassessing your marketing materials, essentially.
You think that's good to utilize as, like, even if you're not an actress?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, everything requires some sort of marketing and branding, and I think it's great to even, just for your own vision of whatever it is you're doing or want to do, it helps you be a little more clear about it and in that path. And I think sometimes, and I've fallen into this category as an actress, I don't know exactly, I'm just like desperate for work. So I'm like, whatever you can give me. But then it's like, well, no, let's figure out exactly what we want or where we can go.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty useful for that. And it gives you more power over your career, which specifically as an actor, you feel very little power because you're always dependent if somebody likes you or not, or somebody calls you in or not. Even if you do great work, doesn't guarantee actual paid work. So I personally have felt very powerless and a little upset at times where I'm just like almost waiting for someone to give me a job. But this way it's like, no, I don't have to wait. I'm being proactive about it, and I have all my ducks in a row.
Control.
Yeah, and it feels, I have control issues, so I need to feel in control. So that helps me.
That's good.
Yeah, so I think
that's what you're doing, upcoming rebranding.
Yes, I'm
getting all that ready.
A little more new stuff.
Any projects that you are, looking out for?
Yeah, I co-wrote a script a few years ago with a director in New York, and we have been trying to, make the film, and I think we're still on the pre-production part, but I think it's finally getting to that point that hopefully next year we can shoot it. So that'd be exciting because it would be
that'd be good.
A full-length feature, which is a long one for me to be involved in more than just talent. So I would be writer. I'm not sure if we'll be directing. We may just get a director, but it's still like in the producing side and having such a specific vision about it, and it's about mental health, which is obviously a big thing for me. So that's probably one of the big things
happening
that I'm waiting or hoping to finally do.
That's really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and by the time this goes out, she's also going to be a producer for my film, so.
Yay. Love it.
So you guys will see that too as well.
All for mental health awareness, and the beauty of our art is that we can truly use it and channel it this way. So it's like a double win.
Yeah, and the cool part about that film is all women. Exception for one, but all women.
Yes, I'm excited for your film.
Yeah, I'm happy because you and Amber are very well known. Like, you guys know this industry more than I do, and that'd be amazing for you guys to just I'll be on the ropes for that. I think it's great,
and I think, it's a male-dominated industry.
Very, yes.
And I think it will give it a different feel.
It's definitely going to be a different feel.
So I'm excited because out of all the projects
You've never been with the old
not all
crew.
Female. Like, I've had, luckily female directors and things like, but that's pretty much the extent. It's like,
but have you ever
director,
had,
but
the
that's
PD and all that? Like, no, never, right?
Especially the crew, it's usually mainly males, which is fine, but it's exciting to see more women in the field.
To have more women,
and I think the energy is, it's going to be different
too. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
because one of the things that I want to make sure when we do film that day is that I want all of you guys to know that if you're having a moment, if you need to step away, let us know. We'll stop and step away. I kind of want to be very positive and aware that everyone is, when you're working somewhere, nobody's really giving a fuck about your, how you're feeling. And I say it that way, and it's very aggressive because it's the truth. You can work at a set and nobody's going to give a fuck about what's really going in your head.
Time is money. So
exactly. So in this set, I want to make sure that all of you guys know that I am aware, and if you guys need time to step away and kind of recollect, go right ahead. If you need time to talk, push me aside and we can talk, because that's what it is. And I'm very strong about when we're working together, I wanted to be positive, I'm going to be energetic, also want to be very aware of that you guys are mentally and physically okay that day too as well. And that's one of the things I want people to know, that when they work with me, that is my concern with everybody, is to make sure everyone's okay. And hopefully in the future, when I have employees and stuff like that, it's always going to be continuing to be like that.
It's great, and it's important too.
It's really important.
I think naturally one would perform better if that's the environment.
I do not want, because we've worked in environments like that, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
I remember reading recently, it's not really related, but kind of, someone who has a sleep disorder, so mornings, they just genuinely cannot perform any task. And they have some sort of 9 to 5 job situation, and for years they were just struggling because they wouldn't perform well at work because the schedule. And finally they found an employer that was able to give them like a 12 till 8 p.m. schedule, and like now thriving, and even things like that. It's like, I just think it's so important
I saw like
to
a
be
TikTok
able to
this,
even talk about an option like that if you need it.
It's true.
Right? You know, not everybody is in the same box. So
nope, not everybody.
Yeah.
It's true, because there's a TikTok thing that I saw, and I went in and looked at it more. Is there this gentleman, this owner who had this factory, and everybody left, and so he needed to hire people, and nobody wanted to work, so he started reaching out to moms. And he said that he's like, I'll work with your schedule. And he says that he's never had any best production ever than working with moms, that you give them the opportunity of their schedule. In other words, working with their schedule. And they worked harder. And they were enjoying, like, everything. And I was just like, that's true. Like,
I mean, it's so beautiful. And this is not to compare myself to a mom, but I foster puppies all the time.
You're a mom.
I'm a foster mom, and I teach fitness, you know, in between acting jobs, and I teach at a hot yoga studio right now, and they let me bring my puppies in, and the owners watch them while I teach. And even that alone, big deal for me.
Yeah.
I will not want to leave that job ever, just for the fact that they do that.
But do you
for me.
You understand that? Like, when someone actually tells you, we'll work with your schedule, what do? You're going to be, like, appreciate about it, you work harder, you feel better about it. And he noticed that.
Yeah.
That, like, these women that have children, as long as he worked with their schedule, he's like, this is, like, the best, like, productions I've ever had in my company. And I was like, yeah, when you actually establish a healthy work environment and you let the other person know, let me know what are your pros and cons and what we can work with, guess what, that person's going to work really good with you, because they're going to notice, like, all the good things, the pros about working with that individual.
I mean, I think there's a whole movement in the industry about all the not so good practices that production hours and pay due to crew, mainly, because the crew's usually there before and after talent, so even if talent has long hours, crew has even
longer.
More. Yeah. And I think Reese Witherspoon with her production company said that they were implementing a 10-hour day
of
filming, which is bonkers, because I've never been on a set less than 12 hours. Is probably the shortest day I've ever had, and that's short. It's usually like 16 hours.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something to think about, because there's like a whole Instagram page of all these anonymous stories from production people and crew that will, you know, be working from like 5 a.m. till like midnight, and then they like are driving home so exhausted that they crash and then go to the hospital, and then they're worried that they have to be back on set in like 3 hours, and it's like insane.
I know.
Insane. So,
that's why I said, like, when I have my own, like, when we are bigger and branching out and we have an actual, like, a building, basically, I want to make sure, I was telling him, it was like months ago, but I was like, I need to take a nap. My brain is like, I was on the computer for too long. I need to take a nap. And then I was like, you know what? When we have our own employees, like, we're making a room just a nap room. And I'm going to tell everybody, if you need a nap, take a fucking nap. Like, it's you get paid for it. I don't care. Take a nap. Because if I need a nap, if I'm the owner, I'm the one running the show, if I need a nap, dude, you need a nap. You need to lay down and relax that brain. So that's one of the things. I want the environment to feel very mellow, and you feel comfortable. And then you don't feel like, okay, I need to go in the room and take a nap and sort of like relax and then get back to work. I really want to advocate that so strongly, because I've worked in shitty ass hours, 9 to 5 stuff, where they don't give a fuck. Like, I definitely want, right, you know, I definitely want something in the long line when, you know, if you have your period and it's really bad and you can just commit for half the day, go ahead. You can leave. You don't feel awful about it. If you're not feeling great that day,
that sounds
take
wonderful.
The day. Because there are times where I'm telling him, I told Anthony, I'm fucking like bleeding like a crazy mad woman here, and I'm like smiling and being like this fake person for customer service, and I'm dying. And I'm just like, Yeah. And I'm cramping, it's hurting. So I definitely want, like, when I have a crew, I definitely want people to know, like, if you're on your period and it happens to be one of those really bad days, you can come in.
And you're all gonna line up, so you're gonna need, like...
Yeah, so if you guys, I was like, I need to find a way with this, because if they're all there, we're all gonna have it sequentially. But I want to let women know that if you need to take half a day, or you can commit half a day to work and then go home, do it. And don't feel ashamed of it. Don't feel like you're gonna lose your job. I know. So definitely, I want that to be part of, like, my employee, like, package contract.
That's fantastic. Honestly, that's really, really valuable, because a lot of us also have, like, you know, other extra symptoms or illnesses in that reproductive side that makes periods worse.
All these things I wanted implemented in the contract when you guys signed, and sort of like, you have this, and I want to make sure you don't feel ashamed. And this is not just for women, this is for men too. You know, if you feel like you need to take a day because you're having one of those mental breakdowns, take it. And don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like you're going to lose your job. Because in the end of the day, you know, I know how much of a hard worker you are, and you're going to work with me. And that's the standard that me and Anthony have talked about, what kind of, like, employees we want and how we want to run it. We're like, no, we need to do this, because this is the reason why people stay with you. Because they're like, no, like, they understand.
Yeah.
Instead of the 9 to 5, and they're killing you. So,
I mean, wouldn't know. Can't do that life, but yeah.
No, that's why I quit, and I'm just
good for you. I love a good quitting story, anyways.
Oh my God, no. No, I don't even want to tell you, like, what happened.
Yeah.
I just want to say that he heard, I was venting out for a whole month before I quit. And he's like, you're venting out way more than you ever have before. And I was like, it's time.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
I had to, and I did it the most nastiest way, too. Jeez, I don't care.
You gotta quit.
I was just like, I gotta go. They're like, we only have one, we have nobody. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's what happens. I was like, it's your problem. Yeah, pretty much.
It sounds like a you problem.
I'm like, it's your problem, Elena.
Not a me problem.
I said it. It's your problem, Elena.
Yeah.
You will never see this because you blocked me. So bye.
Fair.
I was like, she was the manager, so I'm like, I don't care. I'm looking at it like, I don't care. So where can people find you?
My Instagram is Alexandra Bernal official. Pretty easy. Just my full name on official to make it official. And yeah, I post on Instagram, I think, because I luckily do have a lot of casting directors that follow me, and Instagram can be a great tool for that. So I post mainly whatever projects I'm working on or scenes from a reel and stuff on Insta. So yeah.
It was so nice that you were here.
Thank you.
I really
this was
love
lovely.
that you, even though you flied out yesterday and you're here.
I'm happy to be here. I was looking forward to this throughout my trip.
I am.
So yeah.
The more the merrier, because it actually opens up more doors for people to look into. And you know, you never know if that one person listening to this will actually take yoga to kind of just help them through whatever they're going through. So that's a good thing about it. And I really do appreciate that you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's a wrap.
I sincerely hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Thank you so much for joining us and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, leave a review, follow us on socials, and subscribe because you won't want to miss the magic.